I think the greatest way to give of yourself and what you have to offer is by teaching. Trying to explain that the worst thing that can happen to a human being is to have to take the life of another human being. You will never, ever forget it.
How do you teach character? What's the best way to teach character education to young people today? Quite frankly, you can put up a lesson plan and write anything out. It doesn't mean it's going to connect to kids.
He had to fight his way. I mean, he fights for all of us to have the freedom. So freedom as a special taste meant a lot to me when I read that.
Had you ever thought about that before?
No, not at all.
I think the whole idea of the Medal of Honor is for the purpose of teaching everybody that he's got a role to play in his community. So it's important to know the lengths to which some people are willing to go because they feel so strongly about their fellow man.
I did not know a lot about the Medal of Honor. I went to a dinner at the Ambassador Hotel and Jack Jacobs was the speaker, and he introduced us to the concept of Medal of Honor, and I thought the potential for the kids to see these people as heroes was truly something that we could implement in the schools in a positive way.
We were asked as a team of educators to write lessons based on video interviews with living recipients of the Medal of Honor. So we were looking at courage and commitment, sacrifice, integrity, citizenship, and patriotism, and those are fundamental values for I think everyone in our nation.
We worked hard at doing what we do as teachers, and that's write lessons, and we worked hard at finding ways to take recipient stories and turn them into classroom materials, some ways that teachers could use them to impact their students.
This was something you never forget. I have a debt to pay, so I made a promise. If I ever go to America, I'm gonna become a G.I. Joe.
I wish these were the stars of baseball cards in this country. I wish kids grew up knowing these recipients' stats. I wish they knew where they were all born and what wars they fought in and what they're known for, as they do athletes and rock stars. We're trying to spread the word about what kinds of citizens these are. We're trying to spread the word that these qualities will help you in many ways. So we have this curriculum. We had a theory that you could teach these values. You could use these recipients as a teaching tool. And before long, they'd also end up studying war. They'd study world history and the clash of great powers. What a concept.
The vignettes connect specifically with the students. The way that the vignettes are done, they can see soldiers or Marines or airmen who are their age, and the values that the recipients talk about resonate with kids.
Each Medal of Honor recipient is just like a regular person. You take away things that they've been through and their personal experiences and you apply them to your own life. And it's like, once you can do that, it's just you and that person make a connection.
When you take a look at what the Medal of Honor recipients have done, they've dug deep down into themselves at a certain moment in time and done something very courageous and very selfless to protect their comrades. The deeds that they performed translate into the ability of the ordinary person to believe in him or herself.
What did he do that was really extraordinary to y'all? Brandon?
He ran through a severe firing to help the wounded. Also, even though he was hurt, he kept moving to help people.
Their stories are very surprising that someone could go to that deep of a level and, risking their own lives for someone else.
These guys really embody a lot of characteristics that we want to pass on to our students. I've dealt with students who have personal struggles that I could barely comprehend and barely get my head wrapped around what they have to deal with. But then you show one of these videos and, plug this into a class, it's phenomenal.
It's about defining your heroes. It's about character. I mean, you just look at the reaction in the classroom from these young people or what they say to you and realize it's profound. I mean, it's absolutely changing young people's lives.
Can you share a little bit about what you think middle school kids would get from this video?
That's what we started out with, that quote, you never learn to serve until you realize there's something more important than yourself.
To be honest, I came here today not really knowing what to expect. I didn't have any expectations that it was something that I necessarily would be able to bring back into my classroom. But I watched those videos today, and I was moved and touched by it, and I thought my students will be as well.
I remember seeing on one of the tapes, after they taught this curriculum to a selected group of kids in Erie, really cynical high school kids, saying to the camera, "I didn't know this. Why didn't I know this?" I get teary-eyed about it, but if you can get that notion to that kid, you can really make a difference. We won't be able to tell what the full positive effect will be until the generation who receives the education will have matured. But instinct tells me, my intuition says, that if you have two choices, education or no education, you're going to be a lot better with education.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name's Tony Penny, and I'm the director of the Walter and Lenore Annenberg Presidential Learning Center here at the Reagan Foundation. We have a remarkable hour or so planned for you today, but before we get started, I wanted to take a moment to recognize all of our veterans and active duty military who are with us in the audience today. So please stand and be recognized, and thank you for your service to our country. Now, in honor of our men and women in uniform, we start each of our events here with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if I could ask you to all please rise, and we have the Boy Scouts of Local Troop 642 here to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. So, guys, come on up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Face forward. Advance.
Thank you very much, boys. Please be seated. So before I introduce our remarkable guest, I wanted to take a moment to give a little bit of context explaining why he is joining us today. Sergeant Salvatore Giunta is here as part of the Congressional Medal of Honor Foundation's Character Development Program, which you just saw a video about, a piece of curriculum called Medal of Honor, Lessons of Personal Bravery and Self-Sacrifice. And though the curriculum is aimed at teachers, I'm of the opinion that the education of our nation's youth, especially as it relates to learning about things like the development of character and citizenship skills, is not an issue that is or should be confined to teachers in schools. What our children and what our grandchildren are learning in school is of grave concern to all of us. President Reagan used to tell a story about learning. So for those of you who know President Reagan's history pretty well, you'll know that before he was the president, he was the governor. And before he was the governor, he was a movie actor. And even before that, his kind of start in the entertainment field was as a sports broadcaster. And so this story in particular has to do with a friend of his who was a sportscaster. And one night, this announcer was having dinner with one of the young players from the Dodgers. And the announcer and the player were talking about sports, and the player's young wife was bustling around and getting dinner ready for everyone. And they had a baby, and the baby started to cry. And she called to her husband over her shoulder, "Can you please change the baby?" And the player for the Dodgers, he was a young guy and pretty inexperienced as a father, and he was a little bit embarrassed in front of the announcer. And so he said, "What do you mean, change the baby? That's not my line of work. I'm a ball player." So his wife, as you can probably imagine, was not too pleased with him, and she turned around and put her hands on her hips and gave him the stare. I'm looking out. Some of you probably know what the stare looks like on the receiving end of it. And so she said, listen, changing a diaper is like baseball. You lay the diaper out like a diamond. You put the baby's bottom on the pitcher's mound, you hook up first base to third base, slide home underneath. And if it starts to rain, the game's not called. You got to start all over again. So the reason I share this story with you today is that it illustrates an important point about learning. Quite simply, how can we expect our children to learn, especially the things that are most important, if we don't take the time to teach them? Democracy is not genetic. Citizenship skills are not genetic. Patriotism is not genetic. Abigail Adams, one of our founding mothers, said that learning is not attained by chance. So that means that if concepts like courage and integrity, sacrifice, commitment, citizenship, and patriotism are important to us, then we must make the time in the classroom, we must create the programs, and we must, both as a community and a country, demand that these concepts be taught in our schools. And it doesn't take more than a brief perusal of today's headlines to know that there's still a lot of work to do on this front. And that's where our friends at the Congressional Medal of Honor Foundation come in. The Character Development Program utilizes the stories of Medal of Honor recipients to incorporate the ideals of courage and selfless service into school curriculum. And in this way, build character and promote responsible citizenship among our youth. So here at the Reagan Foundation and at the Annenberg Presidential Learning Center, that's part of our mission. It's to develop proactive, informed, educated, and conscientious citizens and leaders. And today, as part of that mission, we have about 50 teachers who have invested, I'll say invested rather than given up, because when you come to a program like this, I think it's more of an investment. They've invested a day of their summer vacation to learn about this program so they can pass these valuable lessons on to the thousands of students they work with here in Southern California. So before I bring today's guest to the stage, I wanted to share with you a little bit about the sequence of events that led to Sergeant Junta receiving the Medal of Honor. On October 27th, 2007, then Specialist Junta and his company were at the end of a 5-day mission in the Korengal Valley in the northeastern part of Afghanistan. 6 miles long and about a mile across, the Korengal Valley came to be known by the American servicemen as the Valley of Death, because over the course of about 3 years, more than 40 servicemen were killed and hundreds more were injured in the line of duty there. Shortly after nightfall, as the company was returning to base, they came under heavy enemy fire from Taliban insurgents. His close friend, Sergeant Josh Brennan, was walking point and went down immediately. Specialist Hugo Mendoza, the medic, rushed forward to help and was shot as well. Staff Sergeant Eric Gallardo, the squad leader, was hit in the helmet by an enemy shot and dropped to the ground. Junta braved enemy fire and rushed to pull him to safety. And as he did this, he was hit in the chest by one bullet, and another bullet struck, he had a rocket launcher on his back, and it struck that rocket launcher just a few inches away from his neck. Realizing that the Taliban was trying to overrun them, Junta and 2 of his fellow soldiers counterattacked. They threw a volley of grenades, and then Junta, looking for Sergeant Brennan, rushed forward into the darkness. It was there that he saw 2 Taliban trying to drag Brennan away. He rushed at them, shot one, and wounded the other. And though they called in a helicopter and rushed him to surgery, Sergeant Brennan did not survive. A few days later, Sal Junta learned that he had been recommended for the Medal of Honor. It took 3 years for the recommendation to be investigated and approved. On October 25th, 2010, Junta became the first living soldier since the Vietnam War to receive the Medal of Honor. In an interview with 60 Minutes, Sergeant Junta described himself as an average, mediocre soldier. If this is the case, then it is my great hope that his example, his integrity, and his humility will inspire school children across America to set their sights on achieving mediocrity. Please join me in welcoming Sal Junta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please. This podium's super official for me. Can everyone hear me okay?
I'll keep on talking until everyone in the back, can you hear me now? Yeah. Hear me now? Was that a yes or a no? I can't hear you guys either. All right, good deal. Why I am here is because I wear this medal around my neck. It's not mine, doesn't belong to me. I hold it for all those men and women that, when asked, stood, because they have stood for their country. They have stood for something more than themselves. They know the price of freedom. That's what I wear this for. It's around my neck because I have a story, and there was enough people that agreed with my story and they saw fit. It's not my story. It's our story. It's our story as a country. Our story as people fighting for the person to the left of you and to the person to the right of you. Because that's what they'll do for you. They will fight for you. That's why I'm here. Now, I'm a pretty simple guy. This is California living for me. This is interesting. But I grew up in eastern Iowa. I was born in Clinton, raised in Cedar Rapids. Wholesome people. We didn't lock our doors. The grass is green. You're nice to your neighbor. I was trying to think of a nice way to put this. I was a very excited kid. I had a lot of good ideas, and not all were positive. I thought I was unbeatable. I thought I was unbreakable. And I was motivated to get out and do something, not necessarily positive. When I was a junior in high school, September 11, 2001, I remember sitting in class, feeling this sick feeling as we were watching the TV screen and watching the towers in New York fall, and thinking, how dare they do this to us? What have we ever imposed or done to them? And this anger built and grew and kind of just resonated in my soul. But like I said, I was young and I was excited and I was going a million different directions at the same time, and all of which were every which way. After time, that anger, that intense idea to do something faded. Other things took its place: schoolwork, family, friends, what's next in life. I was working at Subway my senior year. I was getting ready, I was going to be done with school. I didn't have any real aspirations or dreams to go to college. It wasn't going to be good for me at that time. And I was sweeping the floor or mopping the floor. It was like 9:30 at night. I was a fantastic sandwich artist, by the way. I took my job very serious. I was sweeping the floors and a radio commercial came on. And it said something to the tune of, come on down, see a recruiter, get a free t-shirt. That's what I remember of it. I thought, I work at Subway. I definitely want to get a free Army t-shirt. That sounds awesome. So the next day, I went down to I went to the recruiter, and I told him, I came here for the shirt, but you got to listen to the spiel. You got to let him sell you something. And he, he first looked at me and he said, what are you doing now? I'm going to school. I'm working at Subway. I don't know. That's what I'm doing. I'm a busy guy. Let me get that shirt. And he said, okay, but I want you to know something, that if you want to do something and make a difference, you don't have to go to school to make a difference. You can serve your country. We're a country at war on two fronts. March 26, 2003, the 173rd jumped into Iraq. We now have two totally separate countries in far-off lands of the world that men and women are going to and fighting for our freedom. Would you like to be one of them? No, I just want the shirt. And, with that, he gave me the shirt and I left. Over the course of probably the next 10 days, what he said, I don't got anything going on, and I'm not going to be a sandwich artist forever, and I need something else. And I've never thought of true service to something greater than myself. As an American, I was born in Clinton, Iowa, born in Iowa. I was given all these freedoms and rights and privileges off of the blood, sweat, and tears of the men and women that founded this country and have fought for it since its beginning. And I could be one of them.
I went back to the recruiting station, told the guy, hey, I'm back. I want to sign up. He said, what do you want to do? Man, I didn't know there were so many options. I just thought that's what I thought I was going to come in, I was going to say that, we were just going to get on with it and go fight bad guys. I tell you, I mean, I like to spit and swear and shoot guns and camp. That sounds fun. And in the recruiting station, there's this parachute hanging from the ceiling. I thought, jump out of planes. He's like, hey, yeah, we got just the job for you, airborne infantry. He goes, it's everything you want and more. I think, yeah, and when you jump out of planes, you get $150 extra a month. Thinking, oh, I came in here not knowing anything, and I just chose the best job in the world, right off the top of my head. Awesome. He probably thinks I know stuff now, and he's going to respect me, and this is going to be great. Yeah, it's funny now. It's funny now. It's funny to me now. Then it wasn't so funny. I went to basic training, Fort Benning, Georgia. It was a learning experience. I thought I was the big, bad, tough guy, and I'm going to go fight for the United States of America, let me at him, and I found out I don't know much, and I need to know a whole lot. And all of a sudden, it's not about what I'm going to do, it's about what we're going to do. And what we're going to do right now is a ton of push-ups. And I didn't really grasp responsibility at 18. I didn't really grasp authority. Well, I got the idea of it, and I realized if authority's over there, I'm going to be somewhere over here. But in the military, there is no hiding from it. And you are responsible for yourself, and you're responsible for the people around you, and what you do reflects on them, not kind of, not sort of, but directly. My battle buddy was from Orlando, Florida. His last name was Gibson. My last name is Junto. That's how we paired up. The GIs, I guess, were close enough. So all of a sudden, we're going to be real good buddies. Well, he speaks like Spanish, Haitian stuff, and I speak English. And I'm from Iowa, and I don't really know a whole lot of these other words that's coming out of his mouth. But all of a sudden, we're a team. When he goes to the bathroom, so do I. When I go to the bathroom, so does he. When I'm in trouble, he does push-ups. When he's in trouble, I do push-ups. And this team, this unity, it forced us into it by push-ups and sit-ups and physical training, but also the responsibility of what's on the line. That when we go to war, which we will, that we're going to have this brotherhood, this bond that we have now is going to have to carry us. And we can't think about what everything's going on at home. We got to think about each other. And I promise you, I'll think about you, and I'll care for you, my brother, and you do the same for me. This team was built. And then all of a sudden, basic training's over, and we all go our own ways. And we flood to wherever part of the Army we're going to go. I went to airborne school. It was like 3 weeks of learning how to just take that last step out of the plane. Fairly easy, just one more step, feel the wind. When I joined, I didn't know you could join for all sorts of places and things. I just joined needs of the Army. I just want to fight bad guys. And I ended up being stationed in the 173rd, Vicenza, Italy. The same group that jumped into Iraq, March 26, 2003. The same group that I thought about when I joined the Army and never had any intentions of ever doing anything with them, just the group that kind of brought me in. And I got there, and I was 18 years old, and I'm looking at 18 to 23-year-old men who have been to combat, who have fought for their brothers, who have fought for us at home. When I was in high school, they were fighting for my freedoms, for my rights to do things that we so cherish as Americans. I went there, and I thought we were all buddies. I thought we were all going to do this together, right? There's lessons that need to be learned, and the lessons that need to be learned aren't easy, they're not simple, they're not quick, and it's probably not going to feel that comfortable. But we need to learn to do them together, because when the time comes, and in combat the time always comes, it comes at a time not when you're sitting there after 12 hours of rest, a full meal in your belly, and you've been sitting around for 2 days. It comes when you're 40%, you're out of food, you're out of water, they chose to fight, and you're just going to give them what they want. I learned this in training because you have to train how you fight. No one No one just does something for the first time and thinks that they're going to be able to do it again. You do it 50 times, 100 times. You actually don't eat, so when you do train, you are hungry, and you will feel that hunger in your belly. But you will know that when the time comes and you will have to be hungry and you will have to continue, you will be able to do it. It's not better than you. It's just something you will experience, and you've been there before and you'll be there again. No worries. It was a year before I had my opportunity to go fight bad guys. And it was a long year for me. I've never waited so long for anything in my entire life. I played sports when I was in school, and you practice for a week and you play a game, and then you review your game, and then you practice, and then you play a game, and it goes like that. I've been training for a year and a half almost before I've got my chance to do what I said I was going to do a year and a half ago. I remember my feeling before I went to Afghanistan my first time, and I remember never being more excited for anything in my entire life. This is something I can do, and forever I'll be able to say, hey, I was part of America. I didn't just participate. I didn't just take from. I gave back. I did my best to keep it as great as it is. And I want to truly fight some bad guys. I got there, and my concept of war was jaded. I thought, you go, the good guys kick butt, the bad guys lose, you come home, you kiss pretty girls, they kiss you, whatever it is, and it's over. And that's not true. The good guys don't always win. And the lessons you trained for and tried to learn the hard way are much more difficult to swallow in combat. I remember August 21st, 2005. I saw my first dead American. It shocked me. I don't know, looking back on it, I feel like I was so naive, but it really shocked me and bothered me that how come it's the fastest, the smartest, the bravest, the toughest, the coolest people that have to pay this ultimate price? I didn't know how to take it. He didn't forget to look both ways when he crossed the street. This was no accident. This was intentional. This is what we're here to do, but how are we going to continue on without our buddies? This is what we've created, this family, this organization of a team that is unbreakable, and we just kind of lost our groove. My team leader took me aside, and this is war. War is not pretty. War is not sexy. It is gruesome. It is tough. It is terrible. It is disturbing. It is a last resort when words no longer work. We are here to defend all those that cannot defend themselves. We are here to do the bidding of the greatest country in the world. This was a bad day. Step it up. At the time, it didn't help much, didn't it? It was a positive talk, but it doesn't take away the hurt. It doesn't bring back a buddy. As time went on, we finished our year tour in Afghanistan, and I joined the Army for 4 years. So my time was coming to an end. And I thought, this is the adventure I signed up for, and I did everything I wanted to do, and then I did some things that I didn't want to do, and then I did some of those things I didn't want to do, and I just had to keep on doing them. And I thought, there's other things out there. I'm gonna explore life's options. Then I found out about this thing called stop loss. Stop loss is where we no longer have it in the United States Army. I don't think the Air Force ever had it. The Marines, they don't do it anymore either. No one does stop loss anymore. But essentially, if you are needed and they deem your position needed, which the airborne infantry is very needed, they can just keep you. And I learned a lot about contracts and reading that day. I told you, I was excited. I thought I just chose like the magic job. But then it all of a sudden became, this is what I came here to do, and if they feels as if I'm needed, then I must be decent enough to stick around. And I owe it to my brothers. I owe it to the people next to me, because if I don't go, someone else will go in my spot. And I believe that I'm better trained, better prepared, and more equipped to go the distance than anyone that will take my spot. Not that I had much of an option, but it works out good that I was motivated about it after I came to the terms. We went to Afghanistan the second time, my second time, 2007. And my emotions were very different from the first time of excitement and just ready to go out and get in the business, do my job, come home. I'd now seen more the cost of war and the repeat cost of war. And I've seen the hardships that are endured, not just by the soldiers on the front line, but by the families that are left behind, by the children that grow up, and how often we still don't know the end of this war. How often are we going to have to do this? And if they ask us again, will we go again? That second time was considerably different. We were in much more contact. We were getting shot at every day, sometimes multiple times a day. We were in bigger skirmishes. It wasn't just the onesies and twosies. We were fighting 5Zs and 10Zs and more than you can count and from different positions than you expect. But we did it as a team. I became a team leader. I became not just one of the boys, but I became one of the boys that now has people that I'm truly indebted to and I have to look out for because they don't know as much as me and I can still help them learn. I had 3 guys, Casey, Clary, and Grigo, all of which are fantastic soldiers. Casey's from Florida, Grigo's from California, Clary's from Washington. I'm from Iowa. All Americans, all proud to be Americans, all have stood and signed the blank check to the United States of America for up to and including their own life. These are the kind of men that I had the privilege to serve with. These are the kind of men and women that serve us still today. They're out there doing it right now while we're in this auditorium. Casey and Clary, like peas in a pod. You know, they're strange. They listen to a bunch of loud, hateful music. They smoke cigarettes and dip, and they do them at the same time. It's intense, but you know, if that's your thing, I'll watch you do it. We went out on a mission. Nothing special about a mission. Every mission has its own objectives that we hope to get. Sometimes it's speaking to the villagers and letting them know we're here to help. Sometimes it's figuring out, can we teach them how to grow corn versus poppies? Can we teach them a different crop? Can we show them a better way of doing the same thing they've been doing? Sometimes it's, these guys are bad, so we're going to walk over there and they're going to shoot at us guaranteed and we'll shoot back. Whatever the mission was. We went on several missions. October 25th, 2007 was no different. The only thing that was different was the day prior, our scout team, Wildcat, got overran, and the scouts move in smaller groups. Usually they're posted alone, and they're more looking and listening and observing, but they're also there to make the long shots. They were overran. The weapons were taken, were cleared from the bodies. They had 240 Bravo machine gun that shoots 1,000 rounds per minute, our machine gun that shoots 1,000 rounds per minute. They had suppressed weapons, our suppressed weapons. They now had night vision goggles, our night vision goggles. And this is a big problem. It's not theirs. It's certainly not going to stay with them. We're going to go get it back. We walked out about 2:30 in the morning before the sun went up. It was about a 2.5-hour walk until we set in on the hill. Our mission for that day was actually to pull Overwatch. 2nd Platoon went into the village to talk to the people to see if they can't get information. But because the area was the Korengal Valley, they were more than likely, someone was going to take the high ground on them and fight them from the top. So we just made that not happen by, we took the high ground and we waited for them to come and try to take it back from us. This is what we do. We're not victims of circumstance. We didn't just accidentally fall into this position of extreme aggression. This was the job we chose, and we're good at it. We sat there for about 14 hours. Nothing came of the villagers down below. No help was given. And we started walking back to our outpost. We've been out for 5 days, so we're really excited to get back. Not complacent. We were just ready to not be where we were anymore. We walked maybe, 100, 300 meters from where we sat for 14 hours, quietly, looking, listening, observing, checking. And as we walked out, the world exploded on us in a way that probably been in 150 firefights before that. I had never been in one like that. They were 30 meters from us. There was 10 to 20 of them. They opened up with machine gun fire. They opened up with RPGs. Within the first probably 5 seconds, everyone had been shot somewhere. Because of technology, I was hit in the chest, and no harm, no foul, nothing bad. My squad leader, Sergeant Gallardo, was shot in the helmet. Almost instantly. As I turned, we were in no cover, no concealment. We were walking back. Because the way the terrain dictated, we had to walk in a line because there was only one way out off the mountain. And that was the exact way we came up there, that's bad business. If you're in the business of being sneaky, you never take the same route in and out because you develop a pattern. But they knew that was our only chance to get out. And they sat on that trail and waited. As I turned back to Casey and Clary, Casey was standing in the middle of the open with a SAW, squad automatic weapon, M249, shoots about 900 rounds per minute, shoots 5.56 rounds, serious business gun. And he was standing there, shooting fire from the front of his gun, making himself the biggest target, shooting everything that he could see in front of him, creating the biggest target on that entire mountainside for us. We had nowhere else to go. We had nothing to get behind. We were just going to stand here and get shot at and shoot back, and our best cover we could provide was more bullets on them than they were putting on us. Casey did that from start to finish. Clary already had his M203. He was putting in 40-millimeter grenades, shooting the grenades. Casey was doing that. The two guys that I'm supposed to tell what to do and supposed to organize and make the next move with are already doing everything they can do to protect us, everyone around them. I ran up because of what Casey and Clary were doing. I was able to run up and grab Gallardo. When I grabbed Gallardo, I started pulling him back. I thought he was dead. I saw his helmet. I saw his head twitch, and I've only seen that one other time in my life, and you can't talk to them once that happens. They're no longer with us. And as I was running back with Gallardo, he started stumbling to his feet. He was alive. He took a bullet off the helmet, rung his head pretty good, but he was okay. He told me we're going to throw grenades. We threw grenades. We threw our grenades, and we ran forward. We ran in the line of travel. We need to link up with Eckroad and Brennan. They were both up there still ahead of us. We threw more grenades. We kept on running. I only carried 3 grenades. In Afghanistan, up until that point, you fight in the mountains, and they always fight from the uphill side, and I've never thrown a grenade uphill and had it go exactly how I wanted to, so I choose to stay away from that scenario, so I don't usually carry so many grenades. And so I was only carrying 3. As we ran, I threw my last of my 3 grenades, and we came upon Eckroad. Eckroad was down on the ground. He shot twice in his leg, twice in his chest. He had the same gun that Casey has, the M249. It was jammed, and he was trying to fix the jam. I saw Gallardo go to Eckroad. I have no business going to Eckroad because Gallardo is who trained us. Gallardo is who brought us together. Gallardo was the first one to say, hey, I'm going to work you harder than anyone else is going to work you. You're going to be proud of it when it's done. We're going to come in before they come in. We're going to leave after they leave. And it's not going to be a time thing. It's going to be a work thing. And we're going to do it. He instilled this sense of bonding and that we are the toughest son of a guns out there and don't worry about us. We learned this. This is something we trained. I know your job. You know my job. We're going to do this together and we're going to come out okay. Gallardo went to Eckroad. I didn't have any more grenades. I had no more. There was no cover still. There was no concealment. I ran forward. I thought I'd get next to Brennan. I thought I'd already served a year in Afghanistan with him to that point. I've been in several firefights with Brennan. Brennan's the man. Strong, fast, smart, quick thinker, excellent shot, all good things to be on your side. I thought I could go run up and get next to Brennan. I can tell you who everyone is in the dark from the waist down, and we wear the same pants and the same shoes just by the way they move, by the way they walk, and I can tell you exactly where I think they would be because that's where I would be, and we train this. This is something we've prepared for, this bad day on the side of a mountain in Afghanistan. I ran where I thought Brennan would be. I couldn't find him, and I thought, there's only one answer, and that's that Brennan charged the line. If you can charge the near ambush line, you can create disturbance on their side, and we'll all get mixed up together and it'll be better than getting shot like fish in a barrel. I ran forward towards the ambush line, not to run forward towards the ambush line alone. I ran forward to go fight next to Brennan. He needs a buddy. I need a buddy. We're out here pretty far now. And as I ran up, I saw two people carrying a person. And in my mind, everything's so fast and everything's happening and everyone's shooting and things are exploding. I couldn't understand how someone beat me up here when I came as fast as I possibly could. As I continued to run forward, I realized what I was seeing. They were taking him away. They took his rucksack, they took his rocket launcher, they took his gun, they took his night vision goggles, and they were dragging him back. He was alive. I killed one. I tried to kill them both. I just couldn't get the second one. I grabbed Brendan and I turned around and I ran back the way we came. Got back, I started working on Brendan, trying to assess the situation. No one knew what had happened. We knew what had happened, but no one knew what everyone else was doing at this time because there's still chaos. There's still thousands, literally thousands of bullets in the air. Both sides shoot guns that can shoot 1,000 rounds per minute, and we got 20 guys on their side and 17 on us, unleashing roughly 60 to 1,000 rounds a minute. There's just lead in the air. I yelled for a medic. Specialist Hugo Mendoza. By trade, by choice, he signed up not just to do the 15-mile, 20-mile road marches. He didn't just sign up to be on the front line. He signed up to be on the front line, willing to fight on the front line, and then take care of us when something happened. And when you yell medic, he came. Every time. That night I was yelling for medic, and he didn't come. I didn't know. There's chaos, confusion, lots of fighting. So I worked on Brennan, I assessed the situation. Gallardo came up, Casey came up, Clary came up. We started forming a perimeter, trying to set up at least some sort of security. At this point, most of the shooting in our direction had stopped. The shooting was still maybe 30 meters behind us, but it was us 30 meters behind us. We'll worry about that when it gets closer. And all of a sudden, we have ponchos to keep the rain off you, the camouflage ponchos. And ponchos started showing up with people in them. And you don't know who's in them, and you don't know what's going on. You don't know how bad it is. It's just there's a lot of bodies in ponchos, and we don't put their bodies in ponchos. The sense of loss, sense of taking the fight back to the enemy for all the grateful people that receive these benefits of being an American, that are proud to be an American. This is the price of war. A helicopter came, pulled out our wounded, pulled out our dead. We separated the stuff up. We took all their ammunition. We took the extra vests. We took everything they no longer need that we still need. And we started our 2.5-hour walk back. We got back. We were informed that Specialist Hugo Mendoza had died within about the first 5-10 seconds of the firefight. Brennan had gone into surgery. Brennan had died. That 4 other guys that were shot are going to be okay. And some will come back to us and some will just meet back in Italy. And then we held our brothers. We stayed close to those around us. We remembered what's important. It's important to remember what you've lost, but it's important to remember what you have. And at a time like that, it is easy to see what you have because they are standing by you. The only ones that have stood by you through everything are still standing there. Pillars of America. Pillars of something greater than themselves. People who will fight till the day is done and pick up and fight again, not for themselves, because no one likes to fight for us. That was October 25th, 2007. July 29th, 2008, we left the Korengal Valley. That was a 15-month deployment. That one was a long one. We got back. It's nothing you think about. War is hell. And just because you think you did A-OK one day doesn't mean anything, because tomorrow your life depends on it, guaranteed. Every second your life depends on what you're thinking about, what you're doing, what you're preparing for. Failing to prepare is truly preparing to fail. This is all these t-shirt lines and all these inspirational quotes people have given me. This is the time to dig them out. And we stood there with our brothers and we fought. till July 29th. Came back to Vicenza, Italy. The Italians don't care if you fight in Afghanistan. You're not fighting for them. That's cool. Wasn't fighting for them. I was fighting under the United States of America, under the red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes. Fought with my buddies from all states in the United States, from Guam, from Puerto Rico, for people that stand for something more than themselves. That's who I fought with. I didn't know how to make my transition out of the Army. I was kind of lost. I was kind of good at what I was doing, and my wife wasn't too particularly keen on me going back. And I had to make a judgment call, and the Army said that they'd let me take a different job for 2 years. Think about it. Took that job. My job was, I took over 130 guys were under my charge. I had 26 wives, 63 children, because they were preparing to go again. And when they go, they can't do their finances. They're not going to be able to pay their bills. For 15 months, I think 10 of the 15 months, we didn't have electricity. We never had running water. The things that they just can't get out. I called my wife the first time after 4 months. No sense writing a letter because the letter's not going anywhere because we got more important things to bring in. We need water, we need ammunition, we need more grenades. So I was going to be their mediator. I was going to be the guy that was going to be able to talk to the wives and tell them that everything's going to be okay and they're fighting for us and don't worry, they'll be home soon. And I hate that job. I've never felt more JV in my entire life. I saw the varsity squad go back out to war and fight for my freedoms, and here I was, able-bodied, sitting there on the sidelines talking to the wives, telling them it's going to be okay. I hated that job. One day, September 9th, 2010, I'm sitting at my desk. It's weird to have a desk and a computer. I'm not a computer kind of guy. And my phone rang. And that's weird that my desk phone rang, because if I got business to do, I call from someone else's desk phone, because then they don't call me back. They call the other person. Usually, they can sort it out just as good as I can. I just was there to get the ball rolling, right? I just wanted to initiate. I have a problem. Here's the fix. If you call back, you can talk to my counterpart. And my desk phone rings. So I thought, it's a wrong number, but it's polite to pick it up and let them know, probably not who you're looking for. And I picked up the phone, and the man said something about Pentagon, and he's a colonel. Thinking, okay, for sure wrong number. Said, is this Staff Sergeant Salvatore Junta? I said, it is. He said, please verify. Verified with my social. He says, okay, tomorrow, at the same exact time, I need you to pick up the phone. Be the only person that picks up the phone, and don't tell anyone about this phone call. I don't know what to say. Roger, sir. Okay. Hung up the phone. I went home. I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I think I'm in trouble. I don't know. This is not so good. I've never been called by anyone in the States, more or less a colonel. Colonels don't call staff sergeants, and they don't call them from the Pentagon to Italy. That's not how it usually works. And I asked her to come to work with me the following day and sit there. It was 17:05, so 5:05. All the guys will be gone. I'll just be working in there with the other 4 guys I work with. And sitting there, and the guys kind of see my wife come in, and that was a weird sight, because my wife she never did go to my work before, because she could see how productive I'm capable of being, and she'll have higher expectations. So to not deal with any of that, I keep working home separate. And she came in, so it was weird for the other guys to see her in there, and I sat down at the phone, and 17:05, that phone rang. I was like, okay, this is time to find out what I did wrong. Picked up the phone, the colonel at the Pentagon. I verified who I am again. The phone clicked. I heard something Secretary White House. The phone clicked, and I hear the President of the United States saying that he had received my packet for the Medal of Honor and had approved it. I don't remember. I'm sure there was a lot of other things that were said. I don't know how long a phone call it was. My ears were pounding. My heart was thumping. I was squeezing my wife's hand. And somewhere in there, I don't know what you say to a president. I haven't met the president of anything in my life at this time. Not even like a chess club president. I don't know a president. What do you say to him? And it sounded, I don't know what was even being said, but it kind of seemed like a good time to give out, like a Roger, Mr. President. It was presidential, official. I gave a Roger, Mr. President, and the phone call went on another 30 seconds or so. I lifted my head up, and I'm telling you, I'm in an office with 5 other people, and it's after 5 o'clock, so everyone is gone, long gone. We come in at 6 o'clock in the morning. They get off maybe 4:30. We'll get off maybe 6:30. And they were just, I looked up in the office, there's probably 60 people in there. The last words out of the president's mouth was, "You cannot tell anyone about this." because the White House has to be the one to announce it. You didn't leave me with much of a choice, Mr. President. I looked up and, I had a buddy there and he said, "So we're going for a beer?" We're going for a beer. I need some reason to explain why all of you now know. And that was that. My life has drastically changed since then. I talk my problems out. I tell bits and pieces of things that I have done, not to glorify war, not to toot my own horn, and not to sound like some tough guy. I do it because there are so many men and women that have done it, are doing it, and will do it, that do not receive recognition because what they do is their job. What I did was my job. I did nothing incredible. I did what was asked of me, what was expected of me, what the guy to the left and to the right would have done for me. I tell my story because my story is not special. It is one of a million. It's one of a million that are most definitely just like it. Acts of courage, acts of faith, acts of valor, serving something other than yourself, not just the country at large, but serving the brother right next to you when he needs it the most. People do this day in and day out. They serve in our armed forces. They serve in uniforms, police officers, sheriffs, first responders. They give of themselves. They continue to serve to see how many veterans stood up and have served and continue to serve in their ways, in their communities, in their state. It is incredible. This is my way I try to serve and explain to you how awesome America is because of the people that are in it, the people that participate, and the people that give back. Probably the proudest thing I've ever done in my entire life is not any action that deals with the Medal of Honor at all. Solely joining the military, serving my country. I've never been more proud to be an American than I am today. And it's because I know what this country has cost. I have seen the people give everything for it. It's up to us to remember that. Keep up with that. Give back to that. Because we can lose this country. We can lose our rights. We can lose our privileges. If we do not try to participate and change things for the better, we most certainly will. I appreciate all of you for listening to me banter up here. I think they're going to have some microphones out, and you can ask any questions. Nothing super hard, hopefully. I'm not very good at math and science, but I'll try my best. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, so if you have a question, some of our staff have microphones. Just raise your hand and they will come find you. And I think we're going to maybe go here first and then we'll go over there.
Salvatore, thank you for your service and thank you for sharing your story with us. My question is, how hard was it to go back after you had won the Medal of Honor and work within the armed forces? I know it didn't happen for an extended period of time, but what is that feeling? Now obviously the word had gotten out, and psychologically, how was it for you to adjust to that?
It was incredibly difficult. I didn't win anything. I didn't sign up for it. I didn't enter in a competition. I did my job. I did what I thought was right. I did what I thought anyone else would have done. I found the position I was put in. I honestly, I'm a simple dude. I joined the Army to shoot guns, spit, swear, jump out of planes, and fight bad guys. And kind of took that away from me a little bit, and now I'm going to stand and wear a jacket and talk about others and share my feelings, which can be difficult sometimes. It is difficult. It's difficult for me. And I found that being in the military was, my adventure was kind of over, and I could do what I was going to do in the military, but I can do it on my own time and on my own terms, and so I chose to make my separation. Without combat, I would have never joined the military. I'm not here just to do push-ups and tell stories. I came to make a difference, and I felt like that was my chance to make a difference. If my country ever needs me again, I'll be there in a heartbeat, guaranteed. I have no problem going back.
Yes, Sergeant Firstly, thank you very much for your service, sir. When you were in the Korengal, had they already established Outpost Restrepo?
They had. So, Restrepo, I don't know, there is a documentary out called Restrepo. I don't know if you've seen it, and then a book named called War. And that is Battle Company 2nd Platoon, and I'm Battle Company 1st Platoon. So, as the crow flies, they were 3 kilometers away. But as a walk, I mean, that's like a good 8-hour hump to get over to them. So we were there at the same time, same place, same conflicts, but because they were more than capable of doing what they were doing over there, and we were more than capable of doing what we were doing over here, we didn't get to see each other very often. The group that went down into the village the night of, or the day of the 25th was 2nd Platoon, so it had been established.
Thank you.
I just want to let you know it's an honor to be here today. And there's a pretty good veteran brotherhood throughout Simi Valley and Moore Park. And with that being said, you had a hell of an experience, and I'd like to come up there and give you a welcome home hug.
Absolutely. Just one of the boys. It's an honor.
Thank you so much for your service and sacrifice. As an educator, if you had the opportunity to speak to my young 13 and 14-year-old students, what piece of advice would you like to give them?
What piece of advice would I like to give a 13 or 14-year-old? Every option is on the table. Every door is open. They only close when you choose to stop trying or you choose to close them and move on. When one door closes, another door opens. Preparing to fail, or failing to prepare is preparing to fail. All these simple things, that's what I would say, because the youth of today has more opportunity than ever before. They can travel the world at the click of a mouse. They can do whatever they want, and I suggest do it. Try it. Experience it. When you do something, make sure your reasons are just. Make sure they are right. I usually ask myself, if my mom was watching me, is this going to be cool? Because my mom has different ideas of cool than I do. But if I can live by that, I know I'm not doing wrong. And by participating in as many things as I can and by not doing wrong, I feel like that's a good thing. And 13 and 14-year-olds, they got energy. They can participate in all sorts of stuff, all day long, all night long, and all next week. I'm really excited. I hope that's what I would share. Go out and get them, whatever that may be for you. I see the hands. I'm not the question master, though, so sorry.
Let's see. Oh, you have another one? Okay.
Hi, not only are you mediocre, you're awesome, and you're good looking, and you're funny. Where are you playing next? No, it's an honor to be here and just see you in person. I've heard about you the last couple of years, and it was just awesome that you're here. Thank you for coming. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, your family? Do you have children, anything like that?
I do.
Where do you live? Still live in Iowa?
I got out of the military and moved to Fort Collins, Colorado. I have a 9-month-old daughter now, which that's an adventure in itself. You know, everyone kind of told me, oh, you're going to have a kid, it's going to change everything. You know, I've dealt with changing everything before. This little baby's not going to change everything. Very good lesson that I learned. The little baby does change everything. Life is incredible. I've been married to my wife now for just about 3 years, and she is amazing. She was an amazing wife when I was in the military, and the job kind of had to take priority, and has just turned into an amazing mother, and she really supports. My daughter's name is Lily. Lily and I, and pretty much whatever we want to do, and Lily just wants to stick things in her mouth and crawl around, and I want to go out and talk to the world and tell them how great America is. My mother and father still live in Iowa with my brother and sister. They're doing real well. This has been a real big thing for my family, because my family had only seen me in uniform twice. And it was the first time I came home from Afghanistan on leave, and the second time I came home from Afghanistan on leave. And now, because of this, it has opened up so many more doors, and then actually they have gotten the opportunity to experience more of the military and really see what the military does on every level and how that does directly affect us as citizens. It's really been an eye-opening experience for my family, but in such a positive way.
Thanks very much for sharing. Are you a student at Colorado State still? I think I read that somewhere.
I'm not. That was my plan and still is my plan, and it's around the corner. It's just not this next one for me.
What does your future hold? What plans do you have? I hope, of course, it will include continuing to share like you have today, hopefully for a long time.
This is kind of difficult for me. I can talk in front of people, but I'm talking about my story and my life and my buddies and my really bad days. I will do this because it's important, because of who it represents and why we need to talk about that, because they're over there taking care of business for us and they can't talk because they're busy right now. School is next, hopefully next August. I really do believe knowledge is power, and I think no one's ever been upset because they learned too much, so school should be there. Past that, I'm just trying to make a difference in a positive way whenever I can. And sometimes that's on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes it's on whenever they call on their basis. But I think it's good, and it's been good for me and my family.
We have time for maybe one more question. Oh, it looks like right here.
Can I ask you why you came to Simi Valley to make this speech?
So, I was asked to come to Simi Valley, but I heard they had an incredible Boy Scout troop that was running protection for me, and I thought I could use some cover.
Excellent. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
If you could believe you join me one more time in saying thank you to Sal Junta. Thanks, that was amazing.